In this video, you're gonna get 5 One Light Studio setups, and we're gonna do it in less than 10 minutes. My name is Pi, and I'm one of the founders of Lynn and Jersa Photography and SLRLounge.com. We're teaming up with Adorama to bring you a new series of photography tutorials called Master Your Craft right here on Adorama TV. So let's dive in. We only got 10 minutes, so let's jump straight in. I'm gonna be using a Profoto A10 for this setup. You can use any flash. I'm also gonna limit our modifiers to just the basics. So we're gonna be using mainly an umbrella. And for our entire setups, whatever I'm using, I'll give you other options along the way. Let me go ahead and introduce you to our fantastic model. This is Sammy. You guys can check him out. We will link him up in the description. And let's dive straight in, starting with numero uno, one of my favorite setups, Rembrandt lighting. So what you're gonna do, and I already have the flash set up here, is you're gonna place the flash at an angle where basically we're just gonna light the other side of Sammy's cheek. Now I'm gonna show you a simple trick for this, okay? Sammy, I'm not gonna poke you, okay? Okay, so we just met, but he trusts me. So Sammy looks straight into that camera. One of my favorite ways of positioning this light for Rembrandt is just positioning it in a spot where I can basically look through and see the other cheek on that far side of Sammy's face. Now I'm simply gonna add the modifier onto it, which we're just using a standard umbrella, okay? So again, use the flash you got. You guys can grab umbrellas off of Adorama, whatever you'd like. On the camera, I have a 50mm lens. I'm just gonna keep it there for all of our shots. Let's go ahead and take a shot without any light whatsoever. So I'm gonna turn off the remote and I'm gonna take a shot at 1/200th f4 and ISO 100 so you can see that there's no light coming through in the camera, meaning I've cut away all the ambient light. So all you're gonna be seeing is the light that we're gonna be adding, okay? Now turning on the flash, let's take our first shot. Perfect. That is our Rembrandt light. So Rembrandt is characterized by that little triangle highlight on the far side of the face, so on Sammy's left side. So I'm gonna push this in just a little bit more so we can kind of close off that angle just a bit. Right about there. Good, I'm gonna go just a little bit further. Okay. Now, Sammy, you can go ahead and move with this one. I dig that. So one quick tip here is you can control that triangle a little bit by just adjusting the face position a little bit. So if you want a little bit more of the highlight, turn the face a little bit more towards the light, just like that. And then if you want a little bit less of it, you can kind of turn the face away from it. I love that shot right there. So Sammy, keep it right there. And then one other quick tip here is if you want a little bit more fill into the shadows, just add a little bit of fill. Now I'm gonna use a V-flat. So this is a V-flat from V-flat World. These are fantastic, super handy little devices to have in the studio. But look, if you don't have a V-flat, a simple option here is just to use a reflector with the white side and just use some sort of stand to hold it up. It's gonna do the same trick, okay? So I'm just gonna place this on this side and it's just gonna fill a little bit of light into the shadow. So Sammy, do that same little pose. Perfect, right there, eyes into the camera, there you go. And give me a soft kind of squint and kind of a stoic face. Perfect. Okay, so lighting setup numero dos. So this is Paramount or butterfly lighting. It's often called Paramount because the studio Paramount often used this way back as a lighting setup to shoot their actors, actresses, talent, everything. So essentially this is characterized by simply placing the flash directly above your subject's head, angled down. I have it going through that same umbrella and we're just gonna go ahead and take the shot. Now, let's go into that same pose where you kind of use the hands a little bit. It's called butterfly because of that little butterfly characteristic that it creates in the shadow right below the nose, okay? I dig the Paramount lighting setup. It's such a simple setup. It does this great job of kind of highlighting the hair, has really great contouring on the cheeks and on the face. Just remember one thing, you wanna really kind of play around and tweak the height of this to make sure that you're getting fill into the eyes. So if you're not getting enough light right into the eyes, just lower the light a little bit to get it down a little bit lower, okay? So I'm gonna lower this just a tiny, tiny bit. Right there should be good. Let's take that same shot. I love it. Do one straight onto the camera so we can see that light shape right there. The way that the hair looks, it looks fantastic, dude. Yeah, you can totally see the shadows and the contouring that it creates in the cheeks. All right, let's go to the next one. Number 3, grab yourself a reflector. We're gonna go to Clamshell. So with the Paramount light set up, with your butterfly light, you're simply gonna bring a reflector in, and I'm gonna have you hold right underneath it so your arms are relaxed. You know what, you can actually let it just sit on your lap. There you go, right there, perfect. Now with the reflector, we're gonna use silver side first, and what you're gonna see is the light is gonna bounce off of this and kind of fill in all the shadows. It's also gonna add quite a bit of catch light. You can control this with 2 ways, okay? One is to bring this reflector up. So if you were to bring the reflector up a little bit on your side, there you go. I'm gonna bring it up to this lens right here. The closer we get it, the more light is gonna fill into the face. The further away, the less light. The other way we can control is by simply using the white side of this. Let's do that real quick. So if you bought a cheap $20 reflector whose zipper is stuck and you can't seem to get it open, grab a bounce card. This is just anything, any white piece of foam core. You could use poster board, whatever you want. You could use the inside scrim of the reflector, saying that you can actually get it open, but you're gonna do the exact same thing. Bring this up and close, and I can actually hold this one, my friend. So let's go bring the hands back into the pose, bring it right underneath the chin, lean forward a little bit. I'm gonna come right here, and there we go. Solid. I dig it. All right, so that's clamshell lighting. Now let's go to a square lighting setup. I'm gonna use the V-flats. This is a square lighting setup. What we're essentially doing is filling light from all angles. I'm gonna bring the reflector in. So it's kind of a clamshell with fill on both sides. I'm using V-flats because it's convenient, right? If you don't have V-flats, that's okay. Grab 2 other reflectors. You can use reflectors just hung on each side with a primary light right at the top. I'm gonna go ahead and add this reflector in. An actual square lighting setup can cost thousands of dollars, and this is a very simple and effective way of doing the same thing without all the gear. Okay, now let it rest on you, Sammy. I can hold it from here, and then you bring that hand up to the chin. There you go. So the cool thing about the square setup is it does a really great job of kind of filling the entire face. It's a very flattering overall look, great for headshots, great for beauty, all that kind of stuff. Lighting setup number 5. You're gonna grab a reflector. You're gonna cut a hole in it. If you're worried about the price, these things are like 20 bucks. You'll be fine, okay? So this is a square hole. Now I'm gonna show you just how to do this handheld, but what I've done is I've placed a flash right above my background. And what we're gonna do is essentially create a 2-light setup, but with only 1 light. So that flash, as you can see, is kind of angled down to kind of skim right over Sammy's head, and it's gonna land right about here. I'm gonna hold the reflector directly in front. This is gonna create essentially a square light setup, but with a single light source and with a hair light on the back side. So now, and yes, you can do this with just 1 person, as you can see here. I'm gonna hold this and we're gonna take that same shot. Perfect. Dope. All right, so that's it. Now for this last setup, I'd recommend if you're gonna use this quite a bit, just get a reflector stand. They're quite inexpensive and they'll prevent you from burning out your arms while you're shooting. That's it for our 5-light setup. So just as a summary, our first one was Rembrandt. Remember, we kind of controlled the fill in the shadows with just that fill, which you can either use a V-flat or reflector or anything that you bring closer to bounce off of. Then we went to a Paramount light source. Paramount was directly over the top, which created this look. Next, we went to Clamshell. Clamshell is essentially Paramount or butterfly lighting with a fill added underneath. So all we're doing is adding a reflector. You can use silver, you can use white, you can use whatever you'd like for that. From there, we went to a square lighting setup. It's similar to Clamshell, but we're adding 2 additional bounces on each side. Once again, if you don't have V-flats, use reflectors or whatever you got. And then finally, we went to this kind of, well, a 2-light setup with just 1 light. It's that background light that's firing directly into our reflector cutout and creating our 2-light setup with just 1 light source. I hope y'all enjoyed. If you did, I'd love for you to subscribe to the channel. Please feel free to share the video, comment below, let me know what you think. You guys can follow Sammy, we'll link him up so you guys can check out his work as well. And if you enjoy our education, be sure to check out our premium education inside of SLR Lounge. We have A to Z education covering everything from mastering your camera to lighting to posing, directing, even building the business of your dreams. So check that out and I'll see you guys back here, same time, same place next week. Peace.